Okay, so have you ever wondered, if history class maybe skipped over a few important details?
Yeah.
What if, those history books, what if they left out some really big plot twists?
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to be diving into something that suggests exactly that.
Okay.
Get ready because this is a deep dive into a potential lost civilization, ancient mysteries, and a whole lot of what ifs.
It's funny you should say that because what gets me about this theory is it really makes you kind of like second guess everything you thought you knew.
Right.
It's not just like a small detail. This is suggesting a whole civilization that was technologically advanced and existing during the last ice age.
And the mind behind all of this is Graham Hancock. But before you think we're about to go full conspiracy theory on you, this isn't just some random idea he had. Hancock has spent over 30 years, dedicated his life to researching, exploring this theory. This is his life's work.
Yeah, no, that's what I think is so interesting too, is he's not just like, speculating. He's really tried to find evidence, and he's using archaeological evidence like Göbekli Tepe and that kind of thing, which we'll get into, but like that site alone just totally throws off the traditional timeline of how we think about civilization developing.
And here's where it gets really interesting. So Hancock's biggest theory is that this lost civilization that he keeps talking about, he thinks it was wiped out by a huge catastrophic event. Something crazy happened around 12,800 years ago. And he ties it to a real event that happened called the Younger Dryas. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, so the Younger Dryas was like this period of really sudden and drastic climate change. So imagine thousands of years of glaciers receding and then boom, temperatures just plummet again.
Oh, wow.
The seas shift, the world is thrust back into this like icy grip, throws a wrench into the whole warming trend.
So basically everything changes in an instant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that.
And so Hancock believes that this wasn't just some random thing that happened. He points to evidence um, there's this mysterious layer of soot and nanodiamonds that they found in the Earth's crust, and it's all dated back to this exact same time period. So that kind of makes you think something big must have happened. Could it have been an impact from space, like an asteroid?
Yeah, it's a very compelling thought, especially when you think about the fact that around this time you had this extinction of all those large ice age animals,
Yeah.
the
Well,
mammoths.
right, right.
Like the timing is just, it's too uncanny.
Yeah.
So yeah, Younger Dryas, very turbulent time.
Hmm.
And, Hancock would argue that it wasn't just the planet going through a phase. This was like a catastrophic event that totally reshaped our world. And he thinks that event, possibly caused by an impact from space, wiped out this entire civilization that he's talking about.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. If this civilization was so advanced, what happened? Why haven't we found more? Why doesn't everybody know about this already?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Hancock suggests that this civilization was far, far more advanced than we give them credit for, and that they existed long before the civilizations we usually learn about, like your Mesopotamians, your Egyptians.
Yeah.
He's saying those were not the first. He's saying they came way after.
So he's suggesting that everything we know about the timeline of civilization could be wrong. We're
Yeah.
talking pushing things back thousands of years here.
That's exactly what he's saying. And the evidence, he says, is right in front of us, starting with Göbekli Tepe. So picture this. You've got a site that's older than the pyramids, okay? And it's got these massive stone pillars covered in these really intricate carvings of animals. And here's the thing. It dates back to like 11,600 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, during that time, we're told that humans were just hunters and gatherers.
Right.
So it's like finding a smartphone in a medieval castle. It doesn't add up.
It completely throws off the whole narrative.
Precisely. And that's why for archaeologists, even those who disagree with Hancock, Göbekli Tepe is this huge puzzle. It forces us to rethink how these complex societies developed.
It makes you wonder, if they were building something like that back then, what else were they capable of? What other technology or knowledge did they have that we've lost?
It's a really tantalizing thought. And this is where Hancock's theory takes this other really interesting turn. He sees signs of this lost civilization, not just in the archaeological evidence, but in the myths and legends that have been passed down all over the world.
Wait, are you talking about those ancient flood myths, like Noah's Ark?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You find these stories in cultures everywhere, from the Americas to the Middle East, and they all talk about this huge flood that reshaped the world. And it's interesting because a lot of the details are surprisingly similar.
Huh.
So Hancock's argument is that these stories, they aren't just fantasies, they're distorted memories, echoes of this real cataclysmic event. And he believes it was the same event that wiped out his lost civilization.
So he's basically drawing a line between the physical evidence, like you said, like Göbekli Tepe, the Younger Dryas, and these cultural memories that have been passed down through storytelling. It's almost like he's trying to put together this puzzle, but like half the pieces are missing, but you can still kind of see the picture.
That's a great way to put it. That's exactly what makes this theory so fascinating.
Hmm.
But it's also why it's so controversial. It asks us to be open to other ways of looking at the past and really question what we think we know about history.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any more wild, he adds in this whole other layer of astronomy to the mix.
Oh, yeah.
He suggests that ancient structures, I mean, even the pyramids of Giza, could have been aligned with the stars, but not just any alignment, as they would have appeared thousands of years ago, specifically during the time of this potential lost civilization.
It's like these structures, they're holding a message from the past, but it's coded in this astronomical language. And it really makes you wonder, like, did our ancestors understand the cosmos way better than we give them credit for?
So are we saying that ancient civilizations were visited by aliens who told them how to align these things? I mean, okay, maybe not aliens. Or maybe. It's still mind-blowing to think about.
It definitely sparks the imagination. But it's important to remember that while Hancock's theories are super interesting, and he does have some compelling evidence, not everyone in the scientific community is totally on board with this whole lost civilization idea.
Yeah, not everyone's buying it.
Exactly. And a lot of archaeologists, they still hold on to that traditional timeline of civilization, although they would admit that there are definitely some mysteries out there that we still haven't solved.
Dares, yeah.
But they think that maybe Hancock is stretching things a bit, like his interpretations of the archaeology and using myths as evidence.
So where does that leave us? I mean, what are we supposed to believe with all of this information kind of swirling around?
Well, I think that's what's so great about exploring these kinds of theories. Even if you're not totally sold on this whole, like, lost civilization idea, it makes you stop and think, right?
Huh.
Like, it challenges us to kind of step outside of our usual way of thinking and, admit that what we know about history, it's always changing, always evolving, right? What we think is true today could be completely different tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's like they say the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. Like we get so used to hearing the same stories about the past that it's easy to forget like there are still mysteries hidden everywhere, like right here on our own planet. Like who were the first humans, really?
Precisely. And who knows, maybe one day we will find something, some piece of evidence that just completely changes everything. But until then, it's theories like Hancock's that really, I think, keep that sense of exploration and wonder alive.
Sure.
It's like that feeling of going into uncharted territory, even if it's just in our minds, right?
Yeah, totally. And speaking of uncharted territory, I mean, Hancock's theory isn't just about challenging what we think we know about the past, but it kind of makes you think about the future, too. I mean, if a civilization as advanced as he says this one was, if it could really be wiped out by something like the Younger Dryas or whatever it was,
Right.
well, it makes you think about, the things that we're facing today.
Absolutely. We often think of ourselves as like, oh, we're at the pinnacle of civilization. But then you come across something like Hancock's theory, and it reminds you that history could repeat itself.
Yeah.
That civilizations might rise and fall like chapters in some, larger story.
Wow, civilizations as chapters in a larger story. That's a pretty crazy thought.
It is. It is. It makes you wonder, what will our chapter look like?
Right. Yeah.
Will future archaeologists be digging through the ruins of our cities, thousands of years from now, trying to figure out like who we were, what we were all about?
It's a humbling thought for sure, but it also feels like a call to action in a way. Like we should be out there exploring, keep asking questions, and never take our understanding of the past or the future for granted.
Absolutely. The more we learn about where we've been, the better equipped we are, I think, to face the future. And who knows, maybe, just maybe those ancient myths, Hancock's theories, maybe there's more truth to them than we realize.
It really makes you think, right? Like, if there's even a little bit of truth to this whole lost civilization thing, what else is out there? Buried under the ocean, hidden in the jungle, like, what else haven't we found?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you think about it, there's so much of our own planet that we haven't even explored yet, especially what's under the ocean.
Right. Like, it's crazy.
Like, what if when the ice caps melted at the end of the last ice age, like whole cities, entire civilizations were just covered by the ocean?
No, that would be a story.
Right.
Talk about a plot twist. Okay, but let's just say for a second that Hancock's right. What does that mean for us, like, right now?
That's the question, isn't it? Like, if a civilization that advanced could just disappear, what's stopping it from happening again makes you realize that everything we've built is kind of fragile.
Hmm.
And it makes you realize how important it is to learn about the past. And not just for fun, but like for our future.
It's true. It's like a reminder to like stay curious, keep learning, and maybe even just look at the world a little differently. Like, who knows what we might find.
Exactly. Maybe those ancient myths, those stories, maybe they're trying to tell us something. And maybe if we can figure them out, we can learn how to make a better future, one that lasts.
That's a great point. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. A huge thank you to all of you for listening. Keep those questions coming. And until next time, remember, sometimes the biggest discoveries are the ones we least expect.